Good evening. Today is August 5th, 2024 at 5:37 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and a roll call, please.
Joe Shine, present.
Chad Sexton-Duranian, present. Teresa is not going to be making it today. It isn't excused. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank all those in service, both past and present. And our first responders, thank you for your service. This meeting is being recorded and it will be uploaded later to YouTube. Is anybody else recording? There is a person in the audience that is recording. 1.4 Chairman's additions and deletions. I would like to add as 4.5 a brief discussion in regards to Stewart Healthcare, Neshoba Hospital.
I was going to say the same
But I
thing.
wanted to make sure that we added it to the agenda because there was a new press release this afternoon. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I was going to suggest discuss and vote sending a letter to the governor concerning.
We'll talk about
Okay.
it on 4.5. I just wanted to make sure it was on the agenda. 1.5 review and approve meeting minutes. We're going to do all of that tomorrow. We have an abbreviated agenda tonight, so we can get right to the topic. So I do not have 2.0 or 3.0, and we'll jump right into 4.1, discuss special meeting setup. I guess my questions for the both of you are, do you want me to have a PowerPoint presentation on the meeting like we normally do?
Would you put like motions on there?
Yeah, I put the motions on the, actually, as you have it on the warrant. I just put the warrant motions up on the screen while we're voting on them.
Well, I would suggest we actually put the actual motion on the screen,
We can do that too.
because there shouldn't be a wide discrepancy between the motion and the article, but it's the motion that they vote on. And I will have all of those prepared prior to town meeting that I can give you, and you can just,
Okay, that I can do.
I mean, maybe for some of the long ones, like the ones that is state law that we're talking about, we can say as printed in the warrant, and you can show.
I usually do that when my fingers start tiring.
Okay.
All right, that I can do. You okay with that, Joe?
Yes.
So I will ask TCAM if they could be gracious enough to set up the sound for us. We'll do the PowerPoint. We are going to be meeting beforehand, so I'm going to keep that agenda as light as possible and only talk about the last minute stuff before the town meeting. And
What time is that meeting? The pre-meeting? Yes.
we usually do it at 6. And that's really so that we all have the same numbers when we go into the town meeting. We're all on the same page. And I don't think there's any other special thing that we need to have as far as the meeting is concerned. We don't need any handouts, I don't think, outside of we've already, once we post, we don't really want to do any handouts.
Well, I did this quickly today for the Finance Committee. I don't know whether anybody will ask what the status of stabilization account is.
Maybe we should do this.
At least have it ready.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. We don't really need to do, I don't think we need to do anything with any other section of the budget that we've already approved, right? So we're only gonna really go into the articles that we're gonna, or the sections of the budget that were in the articles that we're going to change.
Yeah, so we're going to talk just about the line items that are changing, not everything else that was done back in May.
Okay. That works for me. Joe, do you have anything?
I'm good with that.
4.2, discuss and vote special town meeting warrant articles, school assessment and fiscal year 25 budget. So, I guess we'll start off with, Article 1, to see if the town will vote raise. This is for $656.11, and that's for the Badger meter. And that is the Badger meter for meter communication service unit used by the water department. My assumption is this what ties it into Vadar?
This is a device that's on apparently every residential water meter that allows the water department to read that meter remotely.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a cellular service type bill that got missed from FY23. So it's part of the communication system for the meters.
Right. Why would that be a town expense as opposed to?
I looked into taking out the water enterprise fund, and Katie said for various reasons it can't come out of there.
Okay.
Because it's already been appropriated, and for $656, I guess I wasn't gonna
I'm just
ask.
telling you that there's going to be questions
Yep.
on that, so
Yep.
I need to be informed as well. Okay. Anything on that, Joe? No.
The finance committee reviewed it, and they actually recommended this article. Do you want me to put in that it's recommended by the selectmen, or is that assumed they're all recommended because it's selectmen's warrant?
I don't think we've done that before.
Okay.
It's just been recommended by the finance committee. Thank you for spelling my name right.
I don't know how I got it wrong in the first place, but you look at these things so many times and see it.
Okay, so Article 2 is a transfer. Walking through this one.
This is a transfer from ambulance receipts into an account to operate EMS. Town meeting approved $700,000. This article proposes to make it $800,000 for an increase of $100,000. The ambulance receipts have done very well this year, and the conversation with the chief indicate that they will continue to go up. There's currently $905,000 in there from this year, so this would be taking $800 out of that $905. I think he's on track to replenish this for future fire department needs, but this is a source of revenue the town has been using for years. I don't know how many, but for years. It's just that we're increasing the amount based on the balance that's in there. This 100,000 basically flows to the bottom line as far as reducing the deficit.
And discussion here.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to make this very clear here, I mean, on an average, the ambulance reserve receipt account was set up years and years and years ago for purchasing ambulances, purchasing equipment. We have been very blessed in this community that the fire department has been doing as good as they have with the amount of runs and the personnel we have. And I get it, they turned over $700,000, which is a huge amount. On average, they've been I think, 400,000 to 500,000. This extra 100,000 they're taking, and I have had conversations with Mr. Shepherd in regards to this, and he has no issue whatsoever trying to help the community to try to get this budget balanced to do what we got.
Well, this is going back into the operating fund for the fire department.
Yes, but it also means we'll take 100,000 less out of general fund to fund the fire department.
Right, so it's coming out of the fire department,
One way
but
or
taking
another.
one way or the other. And I'm okay with this, and I think everyone else, but, you know, the fire department, if they come to us, we just have to hopefully be very considerate, saying, look, if they need another piece of medical equipment or something, that we at least gonna be able to consider. They're giving $800,000 out of that ambulance reserve account that they used to buy and fund that stuff with, without having to come to the town. So I just want to make that very clear that, you know, it's, Mr. Shepherd is 100% on board to help us because of the crisis we're in. But he also wants to say, if something comes up, they need a new piece of equipment to replace a heart monitor or whatever, we have to really consider. That would have been the money that they would have just purchased that stuff with. And I'm okay with that. Is that a fair statement, Ross?
Yes, with the clarification that they still have to come to town meeting to take funds out of ambulance receipts for expense.
Right.
But yes. Article 3?
Yep.
Article 3 is to reduce the May town meeting vote by $113,800. We're proposing to do that by adjusting line 1, decreasing the line item for the town administrator's salary by $6,000, so it will now read $129,000. To reduce line 4, Board of Selectmen wages auto allowance by $2,800 because the negotiated amount is $2,000. Reduce line 112 MIS communications by $10,000 so that now totals $5,000. And that's largely due to the work that you and others have done to put the fiber WAN in and reduce on-site Comcast charges and on-site other equipment charges. So,
Firewall. And all that.
so that's reducing the budget by $113,800. The other item on that is reducing line 284, police new equipment, by $95,000, bringing that line item to zero. That was money that had been allocated for the lease of 4 new cruisers. The chief was hoping to order starting July 1. Chief Sardell has agreed that he could delay that order until this winter time when there's a special town meeting anticipated. I think that we could easily fund that $95,000 out of free cash that will have been certified by then. Considering that free cash will get a boost this year from the sale of those 2 properties, we can put this $95,000 back in the budget. So the chief is delaying the purchase and says he's okay with doing that, or actually the lease for 6 or 7 months.
Oh, and I've had conversation last week and again today in depth with the chief a little bit. Once again, he's on board to try to help us. But what he doesn't want to do is open up this lease thing again on the town floor for negotiations. It's something that has to happen. The way he's been doing it with the lease, it's worked out for him, the town, with the maintenance and everything. So if they go in and they start, you know, saying on the floor that, oh, gee, we don't want to do that now, times are tough, that would get a little tough for him.
Right, and the whole reason behind us asking to do this, number one, is that the money from the sale of the properties was assumed earmarked, I guess, for that particular thing. We didn't realize that we weren't going to have, because of the budget, we didn't realize that we weren't going to have that money, and this was actually the easiest thing to do. I agree with you that going forward, yes, it will stay in the regular budget as it has been, but because of the issues with the education budget coming in as high as it has been, he is asking to do that, again, knowing that the sale of those properties was earmarked for the leases on this in the grand scheme of what we were looking at. I also, I guess I'll interject the conversations here, is that we are looking in future conversations in regards to the budget for a more of a 5-year, a 3 to 5 year, and even a 10-year for some of the capital expense items, to be able to make sure that when they do become due like this, we are more prepared for it than what we are this year. I personally didn't expect the budget to come in from the school as high as it did. So having said that, I'm okay with Article 3.
Okay. Article 4 is to increase line item 500 for North Middlesex Regional School District by $691,284. This is a number that I picked. It represents about a 6% increase over the last year's budget. It's also a number that, if it flows through, will balance the budget without us using stabilization. So I picked this number. If the town votes this number, 691,284, it's still considered a no vote on the assessment the school set us, because they're asking for more than this number. So a yes vote will only provide them with guidance that says, if the school came back with a new assessment that matched this, one, they wouldn't need to continue going with a 1/12 budget. Mm-hmm. Two, we wouldn't need to convene. Would this be a third town meeting to balance the budget? And we can move on. So instead of putting it in zero and saying, we're not going to pay your assessment, come back with another number, I'm putting in a number that equates to 6% and still works.
And I get that. And, you know, we're putting a number in, the school's asking for a number that's absolutely out of control. I mean, we as a community can't afford it, neither can the other communities, what they're asking for an increase. However, if we just put that number in there and we vote for it, it's really, if they don't accept it, just a waste of everybody's time. And we're gonna have to come back to another town meeting. And I think we gotta have a better strategy than that.
I'm not following.
So we're putting, Ross said that we're putting 691,000.
Well, I mean, the total for that line is 13 million.
Yeah, but we're adding.
Yes.
We're adding because that number's still a lot lower than what they're asking. So I guess we're hoping that they're going to accept it.
They've been notified of this number.
Yeah.
So they have opportunity to be able to discuss and vote on whether or not they're okay with that number or not.
But if they don't accept it, then we're right back at square one, right?
That's correct.
And we start this whole gambit over again.
If Ashby also votes no, then you're right. Then their budget has been rejected. They have 30 days to come back with a new number. They're scheduled to have their school committee meet 2 days after town meeting. I was assuming it was to discuss the results of the two town votes. They could come back with a different number on August 22nd, in which case, then you're right. Then we start this process over again. We have 45 days to schedule a town meeting. I'm trying to avoid that by saying a number that reflects, we understand their costs have gone up. Mm-hmm. We've told them we can't pay the full assessment. Here's a number that could work.
That
And
we think
also
can work.
That we for Townsend, but this also provides Ashby, which is really the other town that has the vote, because you have to have two agreeing votes.
Pepper's already approved it.
Correct. So this provided Ashby what we're looking at, which then, when you work the numbers, will give them an idea of what approximately their assessment will be, and they can figure out if they can.
Are they doing the same thing, sending?
I think, I don't know that. I think what they're doing is voting no.
Just voting no on the budget.
When I talked to the North Middlesex business manager, she figures that to make that number, the 691 assessment work for us, they would have to reduce almost $500,000 from their overall budget. And so, okay, that's.
So Mr. Morgan should probably not take that extra 30,000 he's taken and save everywhere he can.
I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm looking at their assessment number is what we have to manage.
What we have to manage.
And how they spend it line by line. I've sort of said that if I wanted to do school budgets, I'd be working for the school department, not.
And I get that, but, you know, here we are as a community struggling. We're trying to put everything together best we can. We're trying to steal from Peter to pay Paul. You know, I mean, it's gonna be some tough decisions that have to be made. And I think, I just hate to see it go through this again in another 45 days.
Well, that's why I gave a number.
Yeah, and I also, I mean, that opened the door, Joe, for me to be able to say that we have been working with the other town administrators and the chairs of the Board of Selectmen. We have been meeting on a regular basis, so that we have a unified voice to the school district to say, this is what we can afford. We are believing that being proactive is going to be the best way so that we can develop a 26 budget that's more realistic than what it was. I will say that this year's, or the 2025 budget conversations, were, we did have more, yes, we did have more advanced conversations, but having a conversation and having an understanding before the budgets actually came out are two different things. And when the budget came out, with that first assessment from the school, it was way out of whack than what we said. And we were saying that we were closer to 3.5% to 6% is where the town would be able to work with them. And we did express that with Eric in November. I think October, we kind of alluded to, you know, roughly those numbers, but we were very, very clear leading up to their vote on their budget. So when that budget came in, I was actually kind of surprised, because it seemed like everything that we had been contributing in regards to the conversation was not heard.
Yeah, they just blew it up.
So again, this year, we decided that we, meaning Ashby and Pepperell and me as the chair, decided we're going to have conversations leading up to the budget, so that we are going in with all three with a very clear understanding that this is what we can afford based upon our revenues. And we've even projected them out a few years, didn't we, in our last meeting?
Yes, and I've been meeting with the other two town administrators, and we are sending them a letter, I think it's going out today, telling them that this is what the town's constraints are. But between 2.5 and new growth, we can barely get a 3% increase in revenue. We can't have budgets that are more than that. And then if they increase this year's budget by more than that next year, we have a problem.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of
And
it.
it's
that's good.
again an
All right, I'm not trying to
override
throw a monkey wrench. I just want to get it all out to
Yeah.
everybody.
Oh, me too.
understands.
That's why I'm saying,
Just get it on the floor so when we get there, that everyone's aware.
So are
And
you
thank
okay
for
with
doing
me?
that. I'm okay with that.
Using that 691,
Yeah, I'm fine.
284?
Mhm.
Okay. I
I'm
mean,
fine
I
with
think
that.
it's
It's a
still,
start.
it's a big,
yeah, we've been crunching for months now. So,
okay, Article 5 is somewhat in the same vein. This is for the Neshoba Votech Technical High School. So we would increase their line by 248,209. And then there's also a line for exempt debt that goes up by 38,929.
So that the number, so it's 248.
248,209 is
and
the
that's the
increase.
number based upon the amount of students that we
The
have.
students, we have no choice on that.
And that's the assessment they sent us that has been voted by a majority of schools.
Yeah.
So it's unlike North Middlesex, where maybe 2 out of 3 towns can vote it down. This is come and gone. We're just now reflecting it in the budget, what it is.
Yeah, and that's, once again, the amount of children that are coming from Townsend going to Neshoba. We are responsible to pay that debt, and that's what it comes. And I am so happy to see more people taking up the trades, because that's what we need.
Yeah, there's Dr. Pigeon was very hopeful that the enrollment is going to continue. They have school choice, but they're not allowed. They just don't have the ability to have somebody come into that school. They have to take who's applying for it, which is I think really good. Number one. Number two is that there are 44 students from Townsend, and based upon the graduations for the last couple of years, the graduates, especially from Townsend, graduated with honors, and they've graduated with basically jobs in or college, all ready to go with scholarships. So
That's awesome. Good job for everybody.
Article 6 is to add an expense line under solid waste. This will become line 572. This is to add it for $25,000, raise and appropriate. And this will cover the expenses to run the fee collection for the trash process. It's made up of $8,440 in staff, increased time, not increased number of people, so it's increasing their hours. And it's $16,560 for invoicing, software, mailing, those type of modules that you have to add to our existing
So
packages.
16,550 for billing, right? I'd say
Yeah, and $8,440 for staff.
80.
Extra hours, not additional bodies. So we don't pick up any additional benefits out of that, costs out of that.
Okay.
That was, it's down from my original guess of 50,000, it's down to 25. Melissa's been working really hard to help develop a system. I'm starting a weekly work group that will be meeting tomorrow at 1. I don't know if there's a selectman that is available to join us on that, but that's to work out the mechanics of how the fee structure will work. And the way
did I put that on the agenda for tomorrow? Because if I didn't, can you remind me to add that?
the way I anticipate starting that is what process we have to put in place to do this. People can ask questions about how will this work and how will that work. When we get the questions, then it's somewhat easy to go through and just pick them off and come up with the answers. But my goal is to have this system up and running prior to October 1. What's not in this warrant, but is in the budget, is the assumption that we're going to collect $550,000 in trash fee revenues between, well, now and end of June. That's 550 out of the 822 that's in the trash contract.
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, townspeople voted. They made it very clear this town is split 50-50. If that contract is $800,000, the town of Townsend, the residents should pay that $800,000. I don't want to put 550 and then steal from different accounts, fire department, police department, lowering different things so that the people voted. I do not feel comfortable doing 550. It's got to be whatever the trash cost us, because if we don't take the full amount, we're still paying some of that trash, and I don't buy that.
Well, so there's two pieces. We can divide the total bill, the 822, by all the residents and collect it over 9 months, or figure out we've already lost July and August and maybe September, so we're only going to collect 9 months, so it would be three
Well, we
quarters.
gotta pay the $800,000.
Yes.
We're paying it, so
Yeah.
that's coming out of tax revenue.
So I'm okay, if the board is, of amortizing the 822 over the remaining months, the remaining households, and then the bills is according.
Yes.
Yes.
The bill will end up obviously being higher than if it was just 9 months worth they're collecting, but when I have those numbers for you, you can make that.
I just want to make sure DLS is in agreement with.
Thank you. That was my next reading. We talked to DOR last week. And when they close out the town and do the recap, they want to see that the revenue that we have received to that date, if it amortizes over to June 30th, will equal whatever the number is we're estimating.
Right.
So if I don't know, I'll pick a number. If our collections at that point are 75,000 and they amortize that over the number of months and say, well, you only get, that's 400,000, they won't let us count that. If our collections are 150,000 or something, they'll say, oh, that times the number of remaining months equals the number, they're okay with that. So my suggestion is we keep in the budget the 550. The board can determine what that rate is and whether we aim for collecting the 550 or aim for collecting the 822? And when I have those numbers for you, I think you can then say yes to one number and no to the other. And
I think we collect the 822. I just feel this has been a long road, long struggle. People have said, cut, cut, cut. Okay, it's been loud and clear as far as I'm concerned. I've had enough people come to my office and express their opinion. We're the only community in the area that's paying for trash. If it costs us $800,000, the townspeople have to pay the 800. That's it, just done. They voted that way. Would have been much easier and much cheaper to have the override pass, and we're gonna move on much better. So I'm sure there's gonna be people upset, oh, we gotta pay this extra money. It was voted on. If you didn't come out and vote, shame on you. If you came out and vote, and the vote failed the override, then we as a board have to do what's right for the community. They spoke, charge the town for the $880,000 for the budget for trash, and not decimate the rest of these budgets.
So I'm in agreement as long as we have we satisfy the requirements of DLS.
yes, so I would suggest that we keep the 550 in the budget as a revenue source now, not the 800, because I don't know that I don't believe we can collect it. Physically, we'll collect that much. But if you're okay, we'll budget the 550, we'll amortize the bill over the whole year, not just the remaining 9 months, and collect accordingly.
And see what it comes out.
Yeah. As long as people know they got to pay for the trash. And I'm good with that. I'm fine, but I'm not gonna steal from other departments that are working hard to try to get where they are. You know, everybody wants us to cut, slash everything. Well, the town still has to run.
This is to raise an appropriate $13,200. This is for the remainder of the lease for Caterpillar loader that should have actually come forward as a capital request this year, and somehow it got missed and overlooked. So
This is the second one that was missed in capital.
I think leases can be tough because you're paying for it over multiple years, and you got to remember to bring that capital number forward for the subsequent years. Maybe there's a way to improve that, because if you sign a lease, you're kind of locked into paying the subsequent years.
Right.
Versus a purchase is a one-time cash. You know, our capital improvement plan knows how to handle one-time funds.
So if we are in our development of this 5-year plan, this is something that needs to be taught in, because those are the kinds of things that really kind of trip us up.
Yep. Well, so this is correcting that so we can pay for that lease.
Good with that.
Article 8 is money coming back. I have found, and going through all departments, $18,750 in previously allocated warrant articles where the work is done, there's still money left over, they don't need any more money. So this is money that will come back.
8?
Yes,
Article 8.
Article 8.
That number may have changed since.
All right, okay, so, I'm sorry, just give me a minute.
You want a new
All
copy?
right, no, yeah, you got a new one, so. Thank you.
You missed it.
Well, there are versions that are coming out that change quite rapidly the last day or so.
Well, yeah, I printed this just this morning, just so you know.
And I printed this before I came here because I knew that they were going to be changing.
Okay, that's good. I'm good with that. All right, so.
I do want to take this time to actually thank you, Ross, for going through this, because these are things that I wanted to do before we even got the budget rolling this year, to look at what these are. We just got caught up in all of the changing of the guard, so to speak. So thank you for at least I thank you for all the work that you put into it. And
I'll second that.
I just want to make sure that you understand that we recognize that.
Thank you. But this is $18,750 that will basically flow through to reducing the deficit at the
No, we
bottom
don't
of
want
the
it
page.
back.
And I had an article, and it was, I think I came up with like 20, or Katie came up with 26 articles, and I went through each department head. I had a pretty good number in there for, it was left over from the charter. I talked to the chair of the charter committee. He said, yeah, all the work is done, but the town clerk correctly pointed out that we actually have to codify the charter when it comes out, and there's a cost of printing and getting it codified, so that line item went away, but Article 9 is voting to accept provisions of Mass General Law that allow us to pay another $1,000 to the treasurer collector when she has completed her training and gets certified as a treasurer collector. She's still taking this course, so this won't happen until the FY26 budget, so it has no impact on this year's budget. And I think it's appropriate to recognize when people have taken extra training and certification, because all that benefits the town to have a certified treasurer collector. We did this when I was here 3 years ago for the town clerk, because she got her certification. And finance committee seemed okay with that. They said they just wanted it to show up as a separate line item in their budget.
Full disclosure is that her contract is coming up, so I want to make sure that we're compensating her for what she's doing.
Well, and she will have the certification come next year's budget. So
this will have no bearing on this year's budget, but we're just doing it, so when it comes up, it's there.
it's accepting Massachusetts general law.
It says in the description, Joe, on the end, this
Yeah.
cost would be in the fiscal year 26 budget.
Article 10 is to accept an easement at 94 Fitchburg Street or Fitchburg Road, and to pay $4,000 for it. This was a town drainage system that was plugged up and apparently causing ponding on the road. When they went to fix it, they found it was plugged, but you can't discharge town road water onto private land. The developer was there and agreed to running a pipe across his property to take care of the drainage. So we need an easement for that pipe and for ongoing maintenance. And to partially offset his costs, we're putting in $4,000 to pay for that. But this clears up a street problem. Apparently the $4,000 was negotiated before I got here between town council and the developer.
Did we do the work or he had it done? I think he had it.
He had it done.
Yeah, and
He
we're
had-
just paying this portion. Yeah, we gotta do what we gotta do.
But that will close that item.
Perfect.
Who won a minute?
Article 11. If the current deficit, as I calculated it, is 123,265. 123,265. If all of these articles pass, then we need some more money. I'm suggesting it comes from stabilization. Stabilization, and I can show you what it's been. It's Chaz already.
Yeah, I just seen that.
Yeah, stabilization is healthy at 1.3 million. I would propose that the town plan to replenish the money they take this town meeting, plus the 95,000 for the cruises. Take that out of free cash once it's been certified. My understanding is you'd be having a December special town meeting to do some of that and maybe some zoning changes and whatnot. Because the town is fortunate to have some one-time sale of some property, free cash will get bolstered up. I believe that you could pay this, offset this, that we do this August and the police cruisers and still have sort of the annual amount of money left in free cash to do capital projects with, or whatever you want to do next May, snow and ice and other things.
And wanna go back about these pieces of property that were sold. I mean, when we were originally talking about those properties, we were gonna try to start setting aside. So especially when the water department sells, we try to set up a insurance fund for retired employees so we can retain our employees in town. So I just want to make sure we at least keep moving forward. I know we're using up the money on the two properties, but we have that water department that hopefully will sell that. You know, we can at least be looking at that to
Well,
set something up.
with the selectmen's goals that we submitted, yes, that's where that is gonna.
Yeah.
The old water department, once they're out, once that gets sold, that will be the seed money for.
I just wanna, just keep it out there so, you know, at least people know we haven't forgot about it. We just gotta wait for the right time for it.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
You know, there's a lot of, and the reason why I believe that we're moving in the right direction, we need to do the, pavement management plan. We need to have that conversation moving forward. That is something that our new TA is gonna help us out with. There has been some planning and decisions made previous to this board, that some of those have not come to fruition, and I really do believe that we need to move those forward. Part of it is we need to, constrain the amount of drainage to the budget, number one, and number two is look at ways for, increasing revenue in the towns. That, along with working with our state representative and working with our state senator, there are opportunities that we are looking for. We're in current discussions on several different ways in which we can start enhancing our revenues without losing things. And that has to do with the agricultural commission getting back up and running, making sure that the tourism is there, arts and the Arts Council has also been talking with us in regards to helping us out with what's going on in the historic district and other opportunities that are available for town. So in order to keep all of these things going, that's why we need to make sure that we have a better planning system than what we've had in the past.
And I think we should consider ourselves blessed because I don't think there's very many communities around us at all that, because of the professionalism and expertise that the paramedics are supplying out there to communities, to bring that revenue stream into our budget. And that's, you know, I mean, it's unheard of to have $800,000 be turned back in the general fund.
Yeah, we'll talk
And-
more about that at
Yeah.
4.5.
And that's really good.
I agree.
So using the school's assessment number that came from July 10th, we're the 123,000 short. I'm proposing to use stabilization. Is the board okay with that? Maybe I should wait to tell you, but the finance committee hasn't voted, but they have major agita if I mention using stabilization. So I'm sure they're not happy with doing it. I don't think anybody's happy with it, but. So
We're not
wait,
happy with
We're
it.
not happy with it.
but the
No,
question is that approach can be acceptable if we have to do that.
not really, but
I mean, you and I have had this discussion, I don't know how many times. I 100% agree with the finance committee that using stabilization for, that is really for one-time funds.
not good.
We're also in a situation where we were handed a 13% income increase in somebody's budget that we didn't expect.
Mhm.
So 123,000 is a lot less than what, I was assuming that we were going to be asking the town for.
I think we've pared it down quite a bit.
I also feel that that is something that we can replenish with what we have coming in, the known revenue that we have coming in. The unfortunate is you can't put something out unless it's certified, so.
So roughly, how much will we have Ross, if we do use that out of the stabilization, how much would be left in there about approximately?
I think there was 115 at the end of July, at the end of June, that disappears from free cash until it's recertified. So it's not like I can't use existing free cash because it goes away July 1 until the next certification. But there's roughly 115. What was the sale price of those two parcels?
Well, I don't know the exact
I
number.
thought it was like 270 or something total.
Well, one was across from me was what, 160 or something, right?
It was 270 total, roughly.
And then the other one was 200.
Mhm.
So
I'm being very conservative.
I thought it was over 3, but that's
But
okay.
270
Yeah,
is what
fair.
I'm being very.
Yeah,
so
that's
out of that 270, I'm suggesting we use 218, the 123 for the balance of the budget, and the 95 for the police cruisers, 218 out of 270. So there's still a net return to free cash. The town's free cash has been $300 to $500 a year, depending upon budgets and everything else.
300 to 500,000.
Yes, sorry. 300 to 500,000.
Dollars won't make it.
So, I think the town will have its usual free cash
Okay.
to do what we need.
What we
Other things
normally
with.
do, yeah.
And I think by putting it back, hopefully that will reduce people's odds about using free cash using stabilization or free cash to balance a budget is not unheard of. A lot of towns do this. So we're not doing something unusual. It's
Just what we need to do for the times.
I believe this is the only alternative, which is why I'm proposing this. If the school matches the number that I put in the warrant, there's no need to use stabilization.
Yeah. That's
Well,
all.
hopefully they're gonna come to their senses and take care of everybody we need.
Well, there's a lot, there's a lot that's going on both statewide and regionally, that it's still very much in the mix. State money is there's still questions on what's approved, what's not approved. There are things that have been approved for the school budget that with their current ask, that means that they're going to be getting additional funding from the state that we can't figure into, but they're still asking for the same amount. You know what I mean? So
I do.
there's a lot of, so for us asking for the 6% really is not, I think it's very much in line with where we're at and what we can afford.
That's fair.
And the state and whatever the state has decided on the budget and whatever comes down the pike, should be shared equally. And I want to make sure that that does get shared equally. And then, and having said that, the other side of the coin is that because of the override vote, and the override being voted no, the school then has now started to assume charges for certain things and increasing charges for certain things, where the burden is being on the parents who have kids in school. And, if because the town had voted down the override, I don't feel that the burden needs to all go on the individuals in town that have kids in school.
I agree.
I have no other polite way to say that. That we all are in the same community and we need to share the same burden. And that means that if we have to budget and we have to balance it some ways. This is how I think, at least how we're working out the best way to do it.
I should, as a footnote, the governor voted the FY25 state budget last week.
Mm-hmm.
The new numbers have percolated through, and Townsend picked up $5,555 more in state aid, which I put right in the spreadsheet. It looked like the school's number, Chapter 70 monies, didn't increase any.
But there's transportation money, there's OGA, there's a lot of pieces to that I know that they're getting additional.
Well, when I talked to the business manager, I asked her that if the state's payment to the school increases, I hoped that they would pass that on as a reduced assessment to the town versus adding programs back. She said her school committee hasn't met, but she thought that it would come back directly to the town as a reduced assessment if they get more money.
Very good job, Ross. Thank you.
If it's okay, a vote from the board to approve the warrant so I can get it corrected with the proper spelling of the chairman's name and then post it tomorrow.
I make a motion, we sign and approve the warrant.
Second? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Thank you.
See how easy that was? What took you so long?
Sign that. You just need that one last page. And
Sure.
this I wrote on.
Yeah.
I'll lose it.
Mm-hmm. And can I put, you want to put it in the date or can I put it in the date?
You can put the date.
This would be,
Today is 5,
this is the 5th day.
5th day. August.
So I'll entertain a motion to, well, I can't make a motion. I'll entertain a motion to review and sign the special town meeting warrant, which we just did, right?
Yes.
So we're all set with that. Review and, okay, I'll entertain a motion to review and sign warrants for the state primary election 2024.
I make a motion, we review and sign the warrant for the state primary election 2024.
And I second that.
And doing both tonight allows us to use the constable once versus
Instead of
having to
twice.
send it out twice.
Yeah.
We have to sign that somewhere.
Yeah, I have it here. Any further discussion on that?
No.
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
We got through that. It's good.
4.5 Neshoba Valley discussion for youth healthcare. I have had several conversations with several people in regards to that. So Ross, you want to say what you had to say in regards to that, and then we can fill in that.
Well, I've talked to the chief, as probably others have. The Neshoba Valley Medical Center receives about 16,000 emergency room visits a year.
Mm-hmm.
With their imminent closing sometime this month, one that means other hospitals have to be able to pick up roughly 16,000 ER visits, which may not easily happen. It means, first of all, there's going to be employees, and someone may be residents of towns and they'll be out of work.
1,000.
Or there'll be businesses that supply to them that will lose business. So there's going to be an economic impact. But to the point is, the chief says that if they can't go to the Neshoba and have to reroute to other hospitals, it could add as a minimum half an hour longer time in an ambulance, which further verifies the need for our advanced life support. When I saw the chief in a training session a month ago, they have almost the same equipment as an emergency room in the ambulance. So our folks will be getting good care, but they're 30 minutes further away from the hospital, which is not good. He thinks that because of the backlog of these hospitals, it could be another hour and a half for the ambulance to make a round trip to someplace else other than the Neshoba Valley. He says if they go to Emerson and Concord, he says that's almost a 3-hour loss by the time they get through the processing there. So he's very concerned about being able to serve the public without the hospital. The suggestion is that the board send a letter to the governor highlighting these concerns. You know, obviously the economic impact on businesses and residents, but really the medical impact of not being able to get to a good facility quickly. And I was going to suggest the board vote to have one of you, maybe with my help, write a letter versus bringing a letter back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And we send a letter to the governor saying, we're highly concerned and we want something done.
I think we should, you know, I mean, Chaz, you're the chair if you'd like to, or Ross, if you had time, I would support, you know, either one of you, write it, get it done and send it.
I personally have been very active with Margaret Scarsdale, our representative, in regards to this issue. There was her and I have been in constant communication in regards to this particular issue. She did speak in front of legislature in regards to this, which I put my own name to. So she does have Townsend's back when it comes to that. She has been very active with that. Senator Cronin's office has been very active with that. I get basically weekly updates from the both of them in regards to what and where we are in the process. So I just want to be clear that we, the town, have been active in the conversation in regards to it. The second thing that I just want to bring to our attention is that there was an article in the newspaper today in regards to apparently, well, let me back up. The governor said that, you know, she wanted to see all 5 of those hospitals within Stewart being picked up in order for the state to assist in some of the funding to pay the turnaround time from the old company to the new company, which the state has voted that in their budget. They've also, they voted to pay employees, or I don't know how they're working, and fund it for a month or
$32 million or something.
So they've already made that vote to do that. It was my understanding that when Maura Healy was asked if she received bids for it, she said that it was televised that she got bids for all of the properties. Then we have this news that all but Kearney Hospital and Neshoba have been picked up. There was a company that put in a bid for all of the companies that was overlooked, and that was denied. So that is being looked at in regards to the bankruptcy and all of that kind of stuff. So there was a bid for all of the companies to be picked up. So there still is
All the hospitals.
Yeah, all the hospitals. Sorry. So there is still a question on what's going to go on and how they're going to do it or whatever. And that's, I had a conversation with 2 very important individuals in regards to this situation before I came here tonight, that are saying that we're still not really sure. Outside of what the impact is going to be, I believe there's a safety factor involved in this as well. That we are an aging community, so there's a lot of individuals who are in that population that is not a comfortable feeling knowing that you're going to take another hour to get to a hospital.
Because they rely on Neshoba. Most of our seniors here go to Neshoba.
Correct. I personally have a doctor that's up there, and I've actually worked with a doctor in my professional field. And there's a lot of Townsend residents that go up there for normal treatments, that go up for physicals. They do a lot of physicals for kids in sports and all of that. They have special time frames that they do both physicals and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot. It's not just, our public safety here. It goes into the community. The suggestion that Margaret had suggested to everybody in her speech to the legislature is everybody needs to get on the phone and reach out to the governor's office. But I will definitely put something together if you want, both of you don't mind. I'll put it in front of Ross.
Put it together. I'm okay with whatever you, don't wait, 2 more weeks. As soon as you put it together and whatever, but send it out. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I just want to let everybody know, I know there's a little bit of talk in town that we, the board, haven't been transparent to take and be dealing with this, yourself, myself, and I don't know anyone else, but I've had many conversations with different people in regards to this, with Margaret and stuff, and we are doing the best we can. So, I mean, we're not out there to be seen doing things, but there's a lot of stuff in the back room that we have to deal with, conversations we have with people. So we are doing the
With
best
the
we can.
individuals that I have talked to, I have said that it's better to send off an email or if call the office or however you need to do it. It's much easier to call the office and ask us questions. Send an email to me. I answer as many emails as I possibly can. Rather than post, a silly thing on Facebook or whatever. If you got questions, bring it to us. I'm not afraid to answer any of those questions, but we have been working really diligently.
So we'll send the letters to the governor and copy Margaret Scarsdale and Senator Cronin.
Correct.
And I just, for the record, Charles, you hit the nail on the head. Them emails come in, or people, not emails, but posting on Facebook and all that. I don't personally ever respond, not because I'm ignoring anybody, but I always appreciate when I see you respond as a chair. That's the right thing to do.
Anything else on that?
Just give us some money.
Right. So 5.0, we have nothing in ARPA. Town administrator updates.
Most of which we've covered, the budget, trash fees, Stewart Hospital. I got an update today from the folks at Good Energy. These are our consultants in the community electricity aggregation project. They said it was good news, bad news.
Like those.
The Department of Public Utilities has been revising their guidelines for how they will handle towns requesting to do an aggregation. They've been doing it painfully for about 9 months. The department has finally, after a lot of input, agreed to the new guidelines. But then they turned around and said that everybody that had previously applied had to reapply under the new guidelines. We applied. I came out and talked to the board back in April.
Yeah.
To finalize our plan to send in April. So Good Energy will have Townsend's plan redone to the new guidelines by the end of this week to go in next week.
Okay.
They interpret that as good news because part of the guidelines state that the DPU has 120 days to process these plans. So maybe we're in the queue and the clock is ticking. My understanding is the DPU is way behind and there's a big backlog. So maybe the fact that they now have to fit a timeline, we'll hear something. But I want you to know that that project is still on the burner. It's still moving, And I hope that in the fall, I can come give you an update that where we actually are. But it has not been forgotten.
Well, I think it's a good news. It's moving forward. Let's put it that way.
And you're gonna stay on as
I would like to sign a new contract with the town to help to continue to support the community aggregation project.
but we'd have to bring that into a meeting, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm working with Adam.
We don't want to let you go yet, Ross.
No, and I'm offering to be available as a sort of separate contract, separate work as a town administrator consultant if there's things that Nelson would like help with, but I think that's a discussion between the board and Nelson.
Yep.
On what should be done or not done on that. But anyway, I want the electrical aggregation to come forward and I'm still working on that. That is all I have for today. My life has been budgets and town meeting. So
Mine too.
Now it's all over, just gotta wait for it.
there's a little bit of work between now and then, but yes.
5.3 announcements and communications. I do not have anything. I will deal with it tomorrow.
Oh, you can deal with that tomorrow?
Oh, that's just gonna go out.
Oh, all right, I got you going out, all right, I'm sorry.
5.4, next meeting is going to be tomorrow night, 8/6 at 6 PM. And I'll entertain a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
So moved.
Second that. All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.